Do you remember when the Fast and Furious movies were primarily about street racing? It didn't have all this nonsense like going into space or rockets or trying to save the world or anything like that. It was just primarily about street racing, adding NOS to your car, making sure your car was tuned correctly in order to, get a quarter mile in 10 seconds or under, etc., etc. All these things. That's what the Fast and Furious movies were. Now it just feels like the Marvel Cinematic Universe is going to incorporate these movies because they just keep doing these ridiculous things with cars. F9 for me was just way over the top. Like, don't get me wrong, I was never a huge fan of the movies. Street racing was never that appealing to me. I did watch it because someone recommended it to me, but it was never that appealing to me. My favorite one was probably Fast 5 because they used their street racing skills in order to perform a heist. But that also had a lot of problems, and it had problems that this movie also has, and it's continued ever since then. In F9, there's moments where Dom just happens to know a guy to get him out of something, or the crew happens to know someone that'll help him achieve something. That's something they've been doing for a while now, and it's just horrible. You're writing yourself into a corner so that you don't really have to explain what's going on. You don't have to develop this situation more. You just say, oh, well, I know a guy that does this, so that's how we're going to do this. Or I know a guy that does this. And every single movie does the same thing. For example, they need someone who can blend in anywhere. Alright, so I know Han, so he can come and do this. We need someone who can bullshit his way out of anything conveniently. Oh, well, I know Rome. He can do that. I need someone who's good with weapons and isn't afraid of a fight. Alright, I know someone for that too. I know someone who's good at hacking crap and knows about safes. Well, I know someone for that too. I need someone to basically be a mechanic or the handyman of the crew. Well, we got someone for that too. Oh, we need only 2 precision drivers for the entire thing. I mean, you're only hiring street racers to perform this entire heist, but you only need 2 of them. So conveniently, all the other street racers also happen to know these other skills that we never see developed through any of the movies, but somehow they know all these things. F9 is with no shortage of these moments because they've actually been doing that since before Fast 5, where Dom knew exactly who was selling nitromethane to Phoenix for his 4th Gran Torino, and they've been doing that ever since. Like, Fast 5 just took it over the top because their entire crew consisted of street racers that just happened to have a particular set of skills. So they've been doing this since then, and this movie does the exact same thing where Dom needs information. Oh, well, I know who can give me that, or I need to get out of this situation. Well, here's a girl that I knew in some other movie or whatever. Maybe I met her at a family barbecue one day, and she gets me out of this situation, and they just keep doing that. And it's just, honestly, just very lazy writing. F9 kicks off with some Fast and Furious lore, which I really appreciate because it gives some depth and some background to these films and these characters. Specifically Dominic Toretto, which is this is a moment that he touched upon in the first film when he was talking about his father. Dom's father is played by the same guy who is in the Minds MC show, which is a Sons of Anarchy spinoff. If you have not watched Sons of Anarchy, as soon as you're done watching this, go watch that show. But anyway, what I don't like about this is Jacob, because he's a new variable. He's a new element that was never introduced in any of these other films. And for someone who preaches so much about family, you mean to tell me you had a brother for all these 9 films and not once did you mention him? And when we finally find out who he is, he just conveniently happens to be the guy standing in your way of accomplishing something or whatever. He just happens to be some super spy. I'll be honest, John Cena and his character Jacob were my favorite part of this entire film because he's the new variable. Everything else has pretty much remained the same or gotten worse, but he's the new element to this film, and I was very curious to see how he would perform in this movie. Vin Diesel said that we would be blown away by his performance. Was I blown away? Hell no. I was not blown away by his performance, but he did perform better than I've seen him in the past. Because in the past, I saw him in Bumblebee, which was a good movie. I liked the movie. It was my favorite Transformer movie thus far. But his character, his performance was bad. It was pretty lackluster. And this one, he did a little better. So I really liked it. I really liked his character in comparison to his previous characters and every other character in this film that I'm just sort of tired of seeing. So he was my favorite part of the movie, which isn't saying much because the whole movie was trash. Anyway, the film keeps going. It's pretty formulaic. Mr. Nobody, the plot device introduced in Furious 7, his plane's been crashed and they had to examine the wreckage in, I think it was in Mexico. And he uses a Dodge Charger. Jacob uses a Mustang because that makes perfect sense to be taking either of those two cars in mountains and hills and forests. It makes perfect sense. But that's not the most unbelievable part of this entire situation. Roman kills a bunch of military soldiers without even aiming. He just shoots randomly in every single direction and just happens to kill everybody because these Call of Duty or video game tactics actually work in real life. You can just shoot in every direction and you'll kill everyone. Tez drives across a simple suspension bridge, which if you don't know what that is, it's a bridge that connects two peaks together. Because like if you're going from one mountain to another, if you're going across a canyon or a ravine or something, you need some sort of bridge to get across, unless you're going to go all the way around. But it's a suspension bridge that can actually fit a car in terms of width. But you wouldn't realistically be able to drive a car that heavy across that thing, or at least you'd have to be really stupid to consider it. So in an emergency situation, that would make sense why you would attempt it, because it's either you do that or you die anyway. But in the movie, the suspension bridge is intact for a moment, but then it starts collapsing. So they drive across it while the bridge is collapsing. So the bridge is no longer connected to anything. The rope is only connected on one side and it's falling down. And they somehow, even though they're free falling, also drive up the bridge. And that is not even the most unbelievable part of this movie, because Tej and Roman also go into space. So if you've heard those rumors, it's true. Like I thought it was done with the driving across a suspension bridge like that, which was the most unbelievable thing I think I have seen in any of these Fast and Furious movies. But they went over the top. They put the cherry on top of the whipped cream. They finished this bullshit sundae, and they took Roman and Tej to space in a car. That is the most unbelievable thing I have seen. If I did not pay for the ticket for this film, I would have walked the fuck out, because that was just too much. You're now officially in space. And how is it that they accomplished this bullshit feat? Because Sean Boswell and Twinkie, the characters from Tokyo Drift, played by Bow Wow and Lucas Black, for whatever reason they go from drifting in Tokyo, and I don't know if they're in America, but they for whatever reason are working with rocket ships, because that was far more profitable than racing in Tokyo. They don't explain anything that happens there. If they did, I'm sorry, I do not remember it. But even if they did, it's still another plot device. It's just, I know a guy that can get me into this situation to achieve this goal. It's the same formula that they've been using since Fast 5. So they know him, and they strap a rocket ship or a rocket to a car. Not even a space shuttle, a fucking car. They strap a rocket to it. They carry it on a plane, because apparently he knows how to fly a plane too now, and they take him straight into space. And they help end the climax with this bullshit scheme right here. Let's just take a car into space, crash it into a satellite, and that's how we're going to end this entire movie. And of course, in Fast and Furious fashion, the climax also has to be resolved with more bullshit action sequences, such as using a magnet to pull in or push away any car that is attempting to chase you or stop you from whatever you're trying to do. So Dom, Letty, I believe Han also had one in his car, and they would attract the cars that were after them, and then they would just turn the magnet off or turn it on, whatever, and it would push the car away. So they were using this multiple times. This is like the biggest plot device of the entire movie. This is how you would resolve every situation, because when they couldn't catch Jacob, what'd they do? They use this magnet. They're driving on parallel streets. At least I think they were parallel. And there's buildings in between them both. But there is a section that's covered in mostly windows, and so they turn on the magnet and it attracts Jacob's car from the other side of the building and just puts it right in the truck that they were driving. That makes perfect sense, right? So that's how they resolve the plot, using this fucking magnet for literally everything. They use it to take out the enemies. They use it to flip over the truck in which the Project Ares or whatever is in. They use it for everything. So it's pretty hard to determine which Fast and Furious movie has the laziest writing, but right now I feel like this movie has the laziest writing, because it has a plot device for literally everything. As expected, Jacob reunites with Mia and Dom gives Jacob the keys, similar to how Brian gave Dom the keys in the first movie, so that Jacob could escape, because he's going to have a target on his back. And I really appreciate that callback to the first movie, but it's still lazy writing that they just brought in a brother to get them out of the situation. Like, what else can you do in these movies? You never once brought up a brother in any of the 9 films, any of these 9 installments, but then out of nowhere, you just happen to have a brother, and this brother just happens to be some sort of super spy that just happens to be the antagonist of this movie. And that was actually kind of annoying. How, what do you want to focus on? Do you want to focus on Jacob? Or do you want to focus on Cypher and Project Ares? I keep calling it Project Ares, but I can't remember if it's called that. I just remember it had the name Ares as in the God of War. So I didn't know if it was trying to focus on that or on Jacob. Personally, I prefer the Jacob story because, like I said, he's the new variable in these films. He's what I was interested in the most. That's what made me more curious, not this plot, this bullshit plot that I don't even care about. So I honestly wanted to know more about him, but I was like trying to figure it out. Is it about Dom and Jacob, or is it about Ares? Which one is it? And the entire movie, it's like it's trying to balance both of them out. Like it wants to focus on both of them at the same time, when it should have in fact focused on Jacob. He should have been the antagonist, and he could have been redeemed at the end of the film. That's fine, but it should have focused more on him and less on Ares, or just completely scrap the Jacob thing because it's completely unnecessary to have a character that wasn't even talked about or mentioned in any of the other films, and then focus on Ares. Either way, the film would have still sucked because lazy writing. But yeah, all in all, it was a pretty formulaic movie, and they went from a bunch of street racers to superheroes slash spies slash Avengers slash whatever the fuck they're supposed to be now. It's not even about street racing. There's not really any racing to be seen in the movies at all. I think the only racing in this movie, actually no, that wasn't racing either. It was no. The only racing in this movie was Dom trying to catch Jacob or whatever. But other than that, there was no street racing. It's just using cars for literally everything. You'd think they would use a jet because Mr. Nobody can get his hands on anything, right? They have these resources, but they use cars for everything. To each their own. If you want to watch the movie, go for it. I personally do not recommend it to anyone. I hated it. Like I said, I would have walked out if I hadn't paid for the film. There's honestly a lot more that I could have said, but I didn't because I just kept on ranting, and before I knew it, I was like at 17 minutes. So I just wanted to cut it short. But yeah, those are my honest thoughts. Thank you so much for watching. If you like this video, please like and subscribe, and I will catch you in the next one, which should be Black Widow, which I'm very excited for because I've been waiting for that since before the pandemic, I believe. But yeah, that'll be coming out next Friday, and I will catch you then. Bye-bye.